All right, everybody, peace. Welcome to the Sorry to Bother You show. Wherever I have you are listening, we are so grateful to have you here with us. As you guys know, I'm your host, Kashawn Cottle, and today I'm joined by my co-host, Mr. Dre Pennington.
Yo, we back. It's been a while, but we're back. I
We
love doing this, man. It's fun.
we are back. Dre, how are you feeling today?
Oh man, I feel great. Like we got a show in. We got to see the good old goat or walk this God's green earth. But it is what it is. Like we have gonna be a good day. It's gonna be a good show.
Yes. Before we start, I do need to give some congratulations to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers for beating the Kansas City Chiefs, who were my Super Bowl prediction going into the preseason.
Both of ours.
Both of ours. Tom Brady has solidified his place in NFL history as perhaps, well, not only the greatest quarterback of all time, but possibly the greatest player of all time. Maybe.
I don't know, man. It's hard to go against them. This has been really impressive.
Yeah. Well, he made the game not even fun to watch.
Facts. I completely agree. I literally was like, this is so boring now.
Right. But I still think Patrick Mahomes has a chance to become the greatest quarterback of all time, in my opinion.
Definitely, I definitely agree.
Yeah. But Dre, that's enough football for right now. I do have a topic that I want to discuss today. Before we start, though, I've said this before on our show that sports can be a great representation and a great reflection of how life can be due to the lessons that it can teach us over time. Sports can teach us to go through it, to how to go through adversity, how to communicate with others, how to develop leadership qualities, how to compromise and sacrifice for the betterment of others. These are all skills and lessons that sports can teach us. And Dre, there's a pretty serious topic that I want to talk about today, and the topic is: do you have a you problem? And the backdrop I want to use to segue us into this conversation is the situation that Kyrie Irving went through about a month ago, where he took some time off from. Well, Jerry, why don't you explain this to us? Why don't you
Yeah.
explain that?
So Kyrie basically took some time off to kind of just I would say self reflect and get his mind into the season. And I think it was a little bit about his family also. Just reflect on all of that. And people kind of they really had like I don't want to say a problem, but they took notice to it and they didn't think that it was the best thing for him and his team. And I don't know how I would feel about that,
Mm-hmm.
especially since you're an athlete and you're trying to like focus on the game. So you're trying to make yourself better so your team is going to be more successful. So I don't know. That's a little different for me.
Right. Well, Dre, like you brought it up. Did you see the flack and the scrutiny he was getting for him taking that time off to be by himself? The point I want to make, or one of the first points I want to make, is that if you feel like you need to separate yourself from something, from an area, from a situation, environment, group of people, whatever it may be, to better yourself or to get yourself in the right state of mind, you absolutely need to do that. And you shouldn't feel any remorse or feel sorry for having to do that to fix your self care. You should never feel sorry for bettering yourself. Now, if those people care about you, they'll understand that you need to separate yourself and you need this time to get yourself together, to mentally recalibrate and refocus. But with that being said, Dre, that obviously pertains to life as well. That no matter the situation, if you need to separate yourself, then you do that. Um, but I mean, what do you think? What do you think about that? Just in general about what Kyrie Irving did?
I think that if it was the best thing for him and for them to be successful, you 110% do it. There's been a big thing about mental health lately, and about how people can, become overworked. If they're overworked, they just get burnout. Like, that happens in the NBA. Look at There's been several players who either retired early or kind of just left the game, or just didn't care about the game the same way as much as they used to, because they were burnt out. So why make him exert that type of energy to where he's going to get burned out early? Like, people have been talking about, Kyrie said he wants to leave the NBA by the time he's like, what, 33, 32.
Mm-hmm.
Like, those are still prime years. Like, you don't want him to leave. Like, you want him to love the game. And I think one of the things that way that could happen is if he's kind of pushed out through the media. And I think this was more one of his ways to just like step away, back up, and get himself ready again.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and that's true, especially pertaining to the sports world, Trey. But let's transition a little bit out of the
Yeah,
sports world, okay?
that was sports
And
world.
and like you said, that a lot of people, well, speaking about the athletes, so they said they're able to assess and realize the problem that they have, right?
Yeah,
So if we pertain that to life, a lot of people have what we call a you problem, right? So a problem that's within themselves that either they don't know or they're ignoring, and that becomes projected onto other
yeah,
people. And like you say, you see it in sports, people that felt like they had a problem they need to address, they stepped away from the situation. Now that can pertain to life as well, because a lot of us, Dre, either lack the understanding, self-awareness, responsibility, or just quite frankly are maybe ignoring the fact that we are having issues that we need to address and we're ignoring them. Now, Dre, why do you think individuals, just people in general, perhaps ignore some of the problems that they have about themselves?
um I think that people struggle heavily with just identifying the problem at first. Honestly, that's what I think is one of the biggest problems. Some people may not think that they have a problem. They may not think like that their problem is that like not major. It's not as major,
Yeah.
but they never necessarily take that time to really just self reflect and look back at themselves. Like look at themselves and really think like, okay, how can I be better? What can I do that could have went, like, how that could have went better in any situation, whether in just life in general. Like, they don't look back you know just the past year and be like, okay, like, how could I have improved my situation from what I was,
Yeah.
and how could it have been a better year than it was the year before. Like,
Right.
some people just don't know how to do that.
Right. I agree 100%, Dre. And what you notice though, Dre, is that people that ignore the problems they have within themselves, they like I said earlier, they project that onto other people. And so you might come across someone that's, maybe upset about something, or they're flagrantly mad about something going on, and they're projecting that onto other people. They're bringing that negative energy onto other people because they're not right within themselves. They don't know how to fix what they have going on within themselves. So they're saying, okay, I don't know how to fix what I have going on, so I'm gonna put my anger out to the rest of the world, because that's gonna cope. That's the coping mechanism for them, for those people, right?
Yeah.
But what happens, right? No one's winning from that situation. No, that's a lose lose situation for everybody involved in that, and that's why it's so important that to if you not only like you said to identify the problem first, but then to fix it. But you can't fix the problem if you don't identify it. So, Dre, what do you think is for you? For you, what is something you do to help identify a problem you
All right.
have about yourself?
So I'll say one of the things that I like do to identify is I just look at, see if I've been in these past situations before, and I look at like how they could have been, like how things kind of went sour, or what was it, something that I ignored, or like I just look at every single step, like, that was taken towards, like, in that situation, and how it kind of went bad. Like, if it's from um just say a relationship standpoint, I look at how myself, I'm like, I'm not the like I'll be like, okay, I'm not the greatest communicator. what were the steps that I took when I was looking like, okay, what type of communication was being like put out there? Was it just like, was I not doing the little things, or was I ignoring like certain major things, like just stuff like that, like just certain things that I just kind of overlooked or took for granted in a way.
Right.
That's how I would look at things.
Okay. Okay. I think that's a perfect way to identify it. Now, Dre, moving forward with this, how do you think there's a time limit for how long you need to separate yourself from, either a person or a situation in order to
Um,
fix yourself? Is there a time limit for that, or what do you think?
I think so, yeah, because the saying, like not the saying, but you wait too long, and especially if it pertains to relationships or just opportunities, I would say you wait too long, then those opportunities may pass you. Um, but if you go into it too fast, then the opportunity really may not have been for you, and it may have went over like something. Maybe it may not have been a good thing for you, and you weren't mentally ready. So
Okay.
like I think depending on who you are, there's a timeline of how things you have to structure it. Like it's just like if it's a job opportunity, take a little bit before you accept that job offer to really think like, okay, am I really ready for this?
Okay.
Um, if it's a relationship, take that time. If you need to take a time away from a relationship, take the time. Like let your partner know, and actually have the conversation with them, because you may not have it may have been too much for you at that time, and you just didn't even know.
And Dre, it's funny you say that. I want to come back to that topic, but I think that that reflection has to start before you even get into not only relationship but also maybe going into a job interview, because like you just said, if you get yourself into a relationship first before you're able to fix the problems you have with yourself, you're bringing toxicity and you're bringing negative energy and drama into the relationship that doesn't need to be there. And then you see people that need to take breaks or maybe end their relationship early. But if you did your work beforehand on fixing yourself and realizing some problems that you have, whatever problems you need to address, then that could have been fixed. And now you're going into a new relationship, a new job, whatever environment may be, healthy and revitalized and rejuvenated and not having any toxic energy. But so that's why I would say that in terms of taking time to fix yourself and to address whatever personal problems within yourself that you have, I think you should take as long as you need to, whether that be a week to yourself, a month to yourself, a year to yourself, multiple years. You take as long as you need to fix yourself, because if you can't fix yourself, you're never going to be the best version of yourself if you're constantly having emotional baggage and problems and trauma that haven't been addressed yet. And I want to bring this back to Kyrie for a little bit, Dre. We know that Kyrie missed 7 games because of what he had going on, but I would have no problem with Kyrie missing, frankly, the rest of the year if that meant he would have been a better individual overall. And I'm just going to say this stat real quick, and then we can get off sports. Kyrie's averaging 28 and 28, 7, and 6 right now, or something like that, since he's been from off that hiatus. And so that just shows people that, like, there's positives into like fixing yourself, and it's a necessity to be the best version of yourself. But going back off of sports, so Dre, so you feel like there's a time, if you're already in a relationship, you feel like there should be a time limit for how long you take to fix yourself.
Yeah, because I think some people, I think it depends on the person, because some like how much time they need. Some people it takes a longer time than others for them to really figure out, like, do they want to do this or not, or are they the best version of themselves that they should be in this. And like you said, it should happen before. This is something that you should have that like discussion with yourself before. But some people do it they do better with it during. I'll say that.
Mm,
And then sometimes it's like, are some people have to like realize, like, am I willing to change for that person, or am I willing to change for this opportunity? And I think that some people are just like, some people just say no. Like they're not willing to change. They're not willing to, like, maybe they're not ready to make that next step and be the best person for themselves, the best person for someone else,
Now,
or the
what
best
if
person for
now
other
what
people.
if them changing for that relationship or that job, what if them changing for that doesn't lead to the best version of themselves and they know that and that's why they're not.
That okay, so that's understandable. So they're like, but then I think with that, that's a person who knows themselves. Like they already were in it and they already knew, like, okay, this isn't something for me. I know this isn't going to benefit me. I need to just go ahead and step away.
Yeah.
That's a person who knows themselves, though.
Okay. Gotcha. I agree. And and just staying on the topic of relationships, a lot of people bring their insecurities and their emotional baggage into these relationships, man. And they project that onto their significant other. And
Mm.
what we see is people start to say, well, gosh, this relationship is so difficult, man. Like, I don't know what's going on with my partner. It's hard to communicate with them, and all this. But Dre, I talk about this all the time. Relationships aren't difficult. It's difficult people that make relationships difficult.
Man,
And so what happens is that people bring this trauma and baggage because they don't know how to fix it. Maybe they're afraid to be by themselves. They're afraid to be with their thoughts. They're afraid to look within themselves to see what's going on. And so they say, okay, let me go get with somebody because that's gonna prevent me from being alone. And that's gonna save me from having to tackle the issues I have. And what you see is you're bringing that energy onto someone else, and you just create a toxic environment for both of you guys.
man. I completely agree with that. Like, if you tend to notice that the people who can't be legit, like, by themselves, are like have a difficulty like understanding who they are, even their own identity. Like that's crazy. That's really crazy to think about. Like, and I think people struggle with that. Like, you do. People struggle with finding their own identity.
Yeah, yeah, and that's a huge insecurity. And like you said, when you don't find if you never find your value or your true identity, you're gonna spend your whole life wishing that you were someone else. And we see this on via social media. We see people that post their successful things on or what they have
Yeah,
going on, and we see people that they look at that and they say to themselves, "Oh man, he didn't really do that, or she didn't really do that." Like they try to belittle other people's success. And something I'm really big on is that if you feel insecure when you hear about another person's success, no, 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 no. That's a you problem. You have a problem within yourself that needs to be addressed. And like you said, it's an insecurity, maybe a lack of identity, bro.
man. Like, I never understood the crabs in a barrel mentality, and that's what I kind of bring it back to. And I don't get that. That's never something that I like. I feel that is something that I want to have in my inner circle either. And
Right.
like, just speaking for me personally, I don't think anyone should have that should want to have that in the inner circle. Period. But it's something that does happen.
It does.
Like,
Go ahead.
no, I was just say, like, it. You have people that you never like. You have people, I would say, that are like your biggest motivators or your biggest, like, supporters, and they might not even know you, who you are, like that. But then you have people who are close to you who aren't, who are like, they may be your biggest hater, one of your biggest downfalls. Like, that's stuff that does happen. Like, and it's crazy to think. And I think that, finding your identity kind of helps out with that, because then you figure out who you want in your circle.
Yes.
What do you need in your circle that you need to, like, motivate you and help you out.
Absolutely. 100%, bro. Absolutely. And not only that, Dre, but also the energy that you put out is the energy that you're going to get back to you, right? So they say birds of a feather flock together. But the reason is because, like seeketh like. So, say for instance, if I'm someone that, is goal driven, or maybe if I'm someone that, is lazy and doesn't like to work, I'm going to be attracted to someone that has the same type of energy that I have. And so what you see is, I'm gonna move this over to relationships again, that people that have, emotional trauma, emotional baggage, insecurities that have been addressed, they're gonna naturally gravitate towards people that have those same tendencies, because that's their comfort. They're at peace with them because they're the same. And that's how toxic relationships are developed, from right there.
Man, like I don't think people understand like them bringing emotional baggage into a relationship. Like you really want to solve those type of things before you get into a relationship with someone, because then now, like you said before, you're projecting your own insecurities upon that other person, but upon that person. Speaking of relationships specifically,
Mm-hmm.
you like you're walking into that relationship cut up and scarred, and you don't even realize like that person that is right there maybe trying to help you, and you may self-sabotage it. And that's and it's not even, it may not even be all to it your fault. It's just like the person before you really got to me, and it's just like, well, I'm not them. But you've already cast that, you as a person have already cast that upon them. Like your significant other upon, like cast that thought about your significant other upon them. Like it,
Yes.
and it's crazy to think about, honestly.
Absolutely. And that's a form of self-sabotage. And that stems from people not being able to take accountability for their actions, right? So that's something we all struggle with. We lack accountability. But when you're able to take accountability for your, not only for your actions, but also for maybe some, we'll say, toxic traits that you may have. Once you take accountability, you're able to address it and then fix it. And once that's fixed, now you know how to treat someone, because you know how to treat yourself. And this is an old cliche, but you can never truly love someone or care for someone until you've learned to love and care for yourself. And with that stems from, like, but the only way you can learn how to love yourself is to know who you are, right? Because you can't love something that you don't know. The only way you can learn to love yourself is to know who you are. And I think that's where it stems from.
Yeah, it's so true. Like it I think people struggle every day about just learning about oneself. Like, how do you, and my question is for you, how do you think you like learn to just kind of love yourself, just speaking in general? How do you think a person learns to love themselves? Like what should they do on it? Like, what are some things, that any tips that you have for them to do on a daily that they should try?
Just on the daily, I always recommend to people writing in a journal. Uh, what I would recommend doing is, you get a journal and you write three things down that you're grateful for that day. Then you write three things down that you wish you did better. And then you write three things down that you like about yourself. Then you write three things down that you're grateful for, right? And so by doing that, you are you are reminding yourself that I had to be appreciative for the things that are in my life. I have to reflect on what I did today and show me how to improve. And then also, I have to reflect and remind myself that I'm a great person. I'm a good person, and I'm blessed by the Most High, and that with that alone, that I'm enough to be great. You don't have to rely on anybody else. I don't have to go to external sources. Me alone is good enough. You know. And so
Yeah,
I would recommend writing in a journal, because it causes you to reflect and to really be alone with your thoughts. But I think what it stems from, Dre, is first you have to be okay with being by yourself.
yeah,
But we all do this. We're all victims of this. Sometimes we're afraid of our thoughts because of how powerful they can be. But once you learn to control your thoughts, once you learn to control your emotions, once you learn to analyze and reflect, then you can truly become the individual you were meant to be. But that's what I would recommend.
yeah,
Yeah. But also, Dre, going back into the relationship aspect of this, what we also find is that, we say like seeks like. There's a reason that people who have taken the time to know who they are and know they are individuals, when they get into relationships, they're better off. They, for some reason, they feel like they're in a better relationship once they get out of something toxic. Because, but the reason for that is because when you get out of a toxic environment relationship, it forces you to learn something new about yourself, forces you to come to grips with what happened, come to reality, and to fix yourself. And we see most people, they go into something better, but it's because they're attracting something that is new. They're no longer that toxic person now. They're a new, refreshed, revitalized individual. So they're going to attract a different kind of person now, which is going to lead to a better relationship.
Okay. So do you think that, like, speaking of just the toxic environment or a toxic person, do you think that people know that they're like toxic? Do you think toxic people know that they're toxic, or is it just something that's like they just figure out like later on when they actually sit down and self reflect?
So I think there's levels to this. So, we're talking about you problems, problems you have with yourself. There are some people that have a problem with themselves, but they're ignorant to the fact. They don't know. And that's when the projection comes on. They start projecting it onto other people subconsciously. But then there's other people that know what the problem is, but they refuse to fix it. Now that is very dangerous and detrimental. And those are the type of people to obviously stay away from. But there are levels. Yes, there are levels to this. Absolutely.
See, I think that's something that like one of the things that when we say about the bad, like people bringing in like emotional baggage, like you don't want to become toxic.
Yeah.
Because then I think like now that's where the is it a me thing, or is it just like like it's still a me thing, because you kind of put out that energy that you like you said, you attract what the energy that you put out.
Absolutely.
And I think that when you're putting out like toxic energy and you're not, just being the best version of you, I don't think you get the best partner, I would say.
Absolutely. 100%. Because you're not the best version of yourself. So you're not going to attract the best possible person that you can be with.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And we keep coming back to the concept of being alone, being by yourself.
Yeah.
And my pops used to always tell me this old saying that some men would rather live alone in a hut as opposed to living in a castle with another king. And what that's meant to detail is that there's value in being alone. There's value in being by yourself. Even though it may not appear to be the best situation, there's still a value. There's something beautiful about being alone with yourself and being okay with that. And that is far more valuable than the opposing side of what appears to be luxury, being with someone else. But you can't really appreciate that if you can't appreciate living in the hut. You got to appreciate living in the hut, being alone by yourself and loving that before you can truly appreciate living in the castle. So appreciate the hut first. Love living there. Love being by yourself. There's something beautiful about that. And we take that for granted sometimes.
No, we do. I think that especially me, how I am, I enjoy like my time, my me time. And I don't think people get enough of that. Like you said, the people are scared of their own thoughts. That's To me, that's like mind blowing, because it's like, well, when I'm by myself, I get to finally like think on my own, and I get to like get all my thoughts out.
Yeah.
Like I can be however I want to be by myself. But I think people are sometimes scared, like you said, scared of who they are when they're by themselves.
Right.
And that's really weird. I think that like it seems like we're coming full circle around about everything we're talking about, like
Yep.
identity, knowing yourself, and then also, just knowing how like knowing how to get your own time, and like the toxicity and stuff like that. Like it's just
Yeah.
it's mind boggling at times.
Absolutely. But Dre, people, we also have to understand that this this concept of fixing the problem you have within yourself is not going to be done in a day. And
No.
quite frankly, it's never really truly done. You're always finding ways to better yourself. You're always finding ways to improve upon yourself. And this is a daily progression that all of us have to do throughout our lifetimes. We have to constantly take time to appreciate our alone time being by ourselves and fixing ourselves. And we have to be okay with that taking an extended period of time. But what happens also, Dre, is that people are afraid of, we all do this, we're afraid of being by ourselves because we're afraid of letting down the people in our circle, whether it be our significant other, friends, family, our job, whatever it may be. We're afraid to be by ourselves because we don't want to let them down. Man, what
Mm.
would you say about that?
I would say that I think that's a true statement. Like you, repeat that one. That was a lot to say again.
Yeah, so people are, and they're afraid to be by themselves because they don't want to let down their their significant other or their teammates or their job, family, whatever. But the point I want to get to is that if those people truly love you and they support you, they care about you, they're going to be okay with you taking time to yourself. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I completely agree. It's like the how like every kid, I say this for everyone who everybody has that one person that they never want to let down, and then they always want to be successful, like their fear of failure and everything, but that person always just like they always have they're always okay with like with you, the best version. They want you to be the best version of you, and I think that's one of the dopest things that you can ever want to
Right.
me. But like I I don't know, it's hard to say because I think that we all struggle with not trying to let someone down,
Mm-hmm.
and I think we all try to go like 110% to make sure that that never happens.
Right. And that's understandable because
Yeah,
we, we're we're willing to, we want to be loyal. We want to make sacrifices for the people that we
yeah,
care about. But and this is something I've noticed too, Dre. We always want people to be patient with us for what we're
yeah,
going through, but very rarely do we ever reciprocate that same energy, that same patience to other people. But with that, we to for all of us to be better individuals, we have to be okay with our loved ones taking time to themselves because that's what's necessary for them to be better and for them to grow. And if I love you, I want you to be the best version of yourself. So you do what you do. You take time. You do what you got to do. Because I know if I ever was in that situation and I needed to take time off, they're going to give that same energy back to me. So it's important to be patient with people, to be understanding in that
yeah.
aspect.
It I I've definitely noticed that, but I think patience comes with experience, and that's weird that we're like you said with when we are given the other side of it with the same situation that people aren't as patient because with experience it's supposed to come patience, I would think,
Yeah.
and it's supposed to get better, but like some people just they struggle with it.
Yeah.
It's kind of funny to hear about that. I
Yeah.
never thought about it like that, but you definitely touched on something that I never looked at it a different way.
But it's something we all struggle with. But that came from self-reflection. Like I was thinking to myself one day, man, I love it when people are patient with me. Like, because I know I can be difficult at times. We all can be difficult at times. But then I thought to myself, well, am I giving that same energy back to other people? Am I being patient with them? Am I being understanding with them? Because that's hypocritical. That's not fair if I'm not. So I have to give back that same energy. I have to do that same thing.
Definitely understand.
Absolutely. But then NEJ, like you said, it comes down to taking accountability. But and we're saying a lot about people having you problems. We all don't. I don't want this to get
Yeah.
misconstrued. We
No, no.
all we all have you problems. This isn't just a singular group. We all have you problems. And if you don't think you have a you problem, that's a you problem because you're lying to
That's
yourself. We're
that's
not.
true.
No one is perfect. Like we all have problems that we need to address within ourselves. But the point is that we have to take time. It's okay to be alone for an extended period of time to just fix yourself and work on yourself. That's totally okay. And it's safe. It's okay to be alone. Is the point that I'm trying to make, because that's the only way you can be the best version of yourself. So don't project that insecurities onto other people by not knowing who you are and getting upset when other people have, successful things going on. Because you want to be the best version of yourself in a relationship, to your family members, as a teammate, in your job. And the only way to do that is to understand who you are as an individual. And then by doing that, you can put yourself in the right sort of environment. But the only way that starts is by first addressing the situation face on. And Dre, we had some fans that wrote into the show. They responded to our questions when we asked, what is one character flaw that you feel you have that you're currently working on? And we all have these flaws. So I'm just going to
Man.
read these out to you, and I just want to hear what you think about them. So the first one is, I'm extremely impatient.
Ooh. Um, that's a I don't think people realize like being patient or having impatience. That just comes with time. Like that's a time thing. Like you got to learn. That's something you have to learn. And
Yeah.
I think like one of the ways that I like just me speaking from my point of view, one of the ways that I learned how to do this. Don't laugh at this. This is really funny. Is that I always was forced to go with my grandparents to when they were like went shopping because like if they're going shopping, obviously I'm about to get something.
Mm-hmm.
But my grandmother would go shoe shopping, and her shoe shopping would be 45 minutes to an hour and a half, while
Mm.
my shoe shopping is more of like 10 to 15 minutes. And I remember sitting there with my grandpa and being like, why is this taking so long? Like just complaining about it. And then he had to really sit me down one day and he's like, he said, what better do you like? He's like, just why don't you just learn it? He's like, calm down. He's like, be okay. It'll be okay. He said, the world's not going to end. He's like, just calm down and like learn how to learn some patience right here. Like, I think that like that specifically was one of the times where I was like, I gotta learn how to just like chill out, like just learn how to chill and relax and just have like be present in the moment of this patient, like being patient.
Yes, absolutely, being present in the moment. And also, Dre, that's a sacrifice you made for your grandma by going to the mall with her and being with her for that long. And then think about all the sacrifices that your grandmother has made for you,
Yeah,
and back to relationships. It's about loyalty and sacrifice.
man.
You do those things for the people you love. But like you said, that's something that comes with wisdom and age, and that develops over
That
time.
it takes a while, man. It does.
Absolutely. And yeah, that's well said. I like how you said being present in the moment, because that can lead to anxiety and overthinking as well. Us thinking forward, like thinking in the future, oh man, what's going to happen? What is going on right now? Or thinking in the past, like, oh, is that the right decision I made? Like, I wish I could, they think to themselves, like, I wish I could go back in time. But like you said, present moment and focusing on what you can control in that moment. That's all you can do. That's all you can focus on, because everything else is going to fall into line, and you're just going to overstress yourself. So only focus on what you can control, and that, I think, that can help with being impatient.
Yeah.
But so the next one, emotional intelligence.
Ooh. Uh, you want to take this one, or I got you.
Yes, I will. Yeah, I'll take this one.
Okay, got it.
So when it comes to emotional intelligence, there's all these psychiatric books that teach us how to be good partners when it comes to relationships. But we keep saying this, Dre. Really, what it comes down to is loyalty and sacrifice when it comes to relationships. Because when you're able to make sacrifices, you're willing to, you're willing to you're willing to be more understanding on an emotional level of what people have going on. And when it so speaking on, emotional intelligence, I think that that's really what it comes down to, being understanding and patience. like we back to patience for like being understanding and being willing to make sacrifices for what your significant other might have going on. But I think that's emotional intelligence is something also that comes with time as well. But but this was a good one. Yeah, most. What do you think?
I think with especially emotional intelligence, um, the number one thing you have like for this you have to have. I don't care who you are or what it is. Number one thing you have to have is some type of understanding. You have to have understanding to emotionally be able to like read a room or to emotionally like to just understand someone's emotional or to actually like just read a person and see like okay they may not like be they may be going through something like anyhow like let me be understanding have some type of I don't want to say empathy
That's the
for
right word.
them. That's the right word. Okay,
Yeah,
so it's being able to have some type of empathy
empathy.
for that person. Like you may not have gone through it, or you may have gone through a similar situation, or you may have been going through a similar situation. So you're just like, I understand what you're going through. Like it's okay.
Absolutely. I agree 100%, Dre. And also that comes back to knowing who you are, knowing yourself, so knowing what triggers you on an emotional level, and knowing how to put yourself either prevent yourself from being in environments where you can be emotionally triggered and being in environments that can be emotionally stimulating for you. That comes back to knowing who you are as well. So the next one we have is getting angry when I have to repeat myself.
Hey man, I'm not gonna lie. That like sometimes people genuinely just don't hear you. I guess, but that's like I don't want to say that's childish in a way because it's like sometimes you know like sometimes you have to maybe okay let me say this maybe you didn't explain yourself the best and you have to look at your communication and how you explained it so maybe the communication could have been better more times or so like 90 like I want to say at jobs or in relationships that can literally be like the biggest like block is just your communication it's just like how you communicate things to people like what you do with one person is not something you can do with the other like how you communicate something with one partner is not like you can't do with like the next partner it just doesn't work like that and when you explain to yourself to something like when you explain something to someone and then you get mad because you have to repeat it twice maybe that person just genuinely didn't understand like what you were saying or
Right?
you just didn't explain it that well to for them to get like it that just happens.
Yeah. I I have nothing to add to that. that was yeah, that's perfect, bro. I agree. 100%. I have nothing to add to that. Okay, next one. Expecting too much out of other people.
Oh, you got that one.
Okay.
That's definitely
Yes.
more.
And this, Dre, this is something I've spoken with you about before from my prior experiences growing up in life. Um, what I've learned is that so you don't do good things expecting something in return, right? Just do good things for the sake of just being a good person, right? So do good deeds expecting nothing in return, because knowing that okay, I did this for someone just because I'm a good person and I care about that person. You should never expect something to come back to you, because that's not really that's like self-interest properly understood. It's like, okay, am I doing this because I genuinely care? Am I doing this because I want something in return? You know what I mean? And so I'm gonna use a concept of money as well. So always loan first of all, only loan money that you can afford to lose, right? So but also loan money with the expectancy of not getting it back repaid to you. And now, say if someone repays you the money you gave them, or say someone does something good for you because you did something good for them, that's a good person. And keep that in mind in the future, and know that okay, this is someone I want in my life, because they're loyal, they're they have good tendencies, they can treat me with respect. So just keep that in mind going forward. But just remember that just do good things for the sake of being a good person. If someone doesn't reciprocate that back to you, that's on them. That's their karma, and that's something that they have to deal with. But don't let that affect you as an individual. Next one, unforgiveness.
Unforgiveness.
Yeah,
Oh man, that I think that that for me, I think that's really really hard because I don't have anything where I'm like, okay, I can't forgive you. I can't forgive that person.
mm-hmm.
That's not necessarily how I was raised. So if you want to do it, you can. I don't have I can't help you with that too much because I feel like for anything like there's nothing in this world that's unforgiving that you can't forgive someone. Like there's I would say there's what is it? Like you never forget, but you can definitely find a way to forgive.
Yeah.
What
Um,
about what are you thinking?
I do believe there are non-negotiables in this life. I do believe there are things that can't be. I believe there are things that happen between maybe relationships that cause the relation to not be able to be rekindled or fixed. I do believe there are certain things in life that can make that happen. And with this being said, I like you said it. You can forgive, right? But that doesn't mean you have to continue to associate with that person.
Yeah,
Sometimes the healthiest thing for you as an individual is to separate yourself from that situation completely. But you can't hold that animosity. You can't hold on that anger because that's just eating you up inside, and that's weighing you down. And that's how we form, debilitating traits about ourselves. So it's important to forgive, but that doesn't mean you have to continue to associate. You can just move forward, and that's all. Because if you don't forgive, you're keeping all that energy bottled up inside. You know, because
yeah,
just don't associate with that person anymore. But for your sake as an individual, for your mental health, just move forward. Just move forward. Once again, because that's not on you. Whatever they did is on them. Don't let that affect you. Just move forward. Move forward. But okay, next one. Being overly nice to people and not putting myself first in certain situations.
Oh, oh, I think we can split this one. For because I think I have that. I would say that I have that sometimes. I have the troubles. Like
Mm-hmm.
I give people chances so much, and I feel like that's not the best thing. And being overly nice, that's not a horrible character trait. Like just being nice is not a bad character trait, but you got to know when someone's trying to take advantage of you
Right.
or people are trying to use you as like a stepping stool. Like you have to have some type of backbone, I will say.
Yeah.
And I don't agree with letting people step on you. That's something that I don't think you should let happen to anyone ever. Anyone should ever let that happen to themselves ever.
Okay.
Because that's disrespectful to yourself. I don't think that's cool.
I agree. Respect has to be earned. It's just
Yeah.
not given. So a lot of us in life, we go around trying to be the nice guy. We try to go around being Mr. Perfect. We try to, put on this persona of being the nice guy. That's how you set yourself up for failure. Don't go around trying to be the nice guy. Just make sure you're doing right by people and people are doing right by you. Now, if they're not reciprocating that same level of respect, that same level of gratitude, then now you know how to operate. Now you know how to move forward as an individual. That's not someone you want to be around. Then they no longer get that respect. They no longer get that gratitude because it wasn't reciprocated back to you. But we have to understand that and not focus on just being this perfect, nice person. Mm-mm. Just make sure you're doing right by people off of GP, general principle, and make sure they're doing right by you. And that's really what it comes down to. That's going to alleviate all the problems of, you know, you know, having people in your life that aren't reciprocating the same energy you're giving. It's going to alleviate you not putting yourself first in most situations. What you'll find happening is that once you remove those type of people from your life, you're going to have people that aren't going to let you do that. They're going to say, no, you need to handle your business first, and then you come back to me. And that's the kind of people you want in your life. And so by make sure you're just doing right by people, by doing right by others and do right by yourself, that's just going to alleviate all the other problems. The next one is patience and realizing that my aspirations will be met in due time as long as I put the work in.
Ooh. hey, hey, look, whoever that person is that said that, I am going through the same thing you are. It is 100% the hardest thing in the world. Um, but I'll say this, like, um, you got to be patient for your opportunity. Understand that it's gonna come. Are you ready for it? Like that's the only thing that you should be having in your head. Like you just stay ready for that, like for that opportunity, and especially like man, like take it day. Like don't think, don't make a calendar and think of it so many weeks, years in advance. Like take it day by day, and that's what you want to do. Like break it down day by day, chop it down. Like you can even do hour by hour if you want to like help your day go through.
Mm-hmm.
Don't do it weeks at a time like that. I feel like living like that doesn't help. Like live day to day, like live day by day, because then like I'm not saying don't plan for the future, but plan yourself accordingly day by day. Like it helps pass time, it helps keep you patient. It doesn't create that type of anxiety and anxiousness in one person, I'll say.
Mm, I love it. I love that. I love that. Yeah, that's
Yeah, man.
exactly. The next one, my indecisiveness.
Oof. You got that one?
I'll take this one. Uh, this comes down to confidence, confidence in whatever decision we make, and what you come to realize is that. So I'm gonna use the basketball analogy here. The players out of all of us that have the most confidence normally are the ones that work the hardest. And so how that translates to life is that how you work hard in life is, once again, our topic, knowing who you are as an individual. Once you know who you are as an individual and you know that I can only focus on what I can control, and I know that this situation is going to be perfect for me, for who I am, that allows us to make easier decisions because we know what's going to benefit us in the future. You know what I mean? And like the Most High always puts everything perfectly for us at the right time. And once we understand that, okay, this situation, this job is perfect for me because I know who I am, I know my traits, I know what I like, I know what I like to be around. I'm gonna choose this job over this other job right here because this doesn't really fit me. But this job right here, it fits me because I know who I am. So I'm gonna go over here. So to fix indecisiveness, we have to fix our confidence. In order to fix our confidence, we have to know who we are, embrace who we are as individuals. The last one, Dre, is doubting myself.
I, I'll say, does that kind of go with indecisiveness? Do you
I think
think?
it does. I think it does.
Okay. So, I'll say this, especially about the indecisiveness and doubting oneself. Um, I got this. I heard a guy told me this recently. He was, and this it goes to the back to the basketball analogy. He was like, shoot the shot and live with the consequence. He's like,
Mm,
he's like once you shoot the shot, he's like it's like a 5 second rule. Don't think about it after. He's like it doesn't matter. You live with what the decision you made. I think that, and I'll be like I remember thinking that, and I was like, you know what? That's very true. I was like, yeah, I've taken some L's from it, but I was like, I've also taken some wins from like living like that. I was like, I would rather do that. And like you said, that goes with confidence. Like that made my confidence grow. Like my confidence went through the roof after I heard that.
right.
And I was like, all right, I'm just shooting. I was like, it's one shot. Like it's one shot, and I'm okay with whatever happens after this ball leaves my hand.
Yeah.
So with like thinking of it like that, like all right, it's one decision that I have. It's one job opportunity, and you have those two. You weighing them out. It's like okay, I'll make that decision to like pick this job over the other. Live with your live with it. Like it's okay. If it doesn't work out, cool, fine. New job. Got it. It may not have been for you. If it does, you're looking back at it like, oh, cool. Like
Yeah.
it worked out for me. Like I did pretty well. I learned myself. And
Yes,
like you said, that's also learning yourself. Like you you kind of prepare yourself, and like you can prepare yourself for those situations. I think.
absolutely. I think you're 100% right, bro. I agree.
Yeah,
Yeah, but we really appreciate the fans that took their time out to be vulnerable and open with us and give their responses to this. We really appreciate you guys. Thank you. And there were so many more, but we couldn't read them all. We just read a few, but we really appreciate it for that. But Drew, I think this is a really great show. Thank you for being transparent and
of course.
vulnerable on this show. I think you know what time it is. Do you know
Shout
this is all we have for today? So do you have any shout outs that you want to give?
out. Shout out to all the people out there that have always been supporting us. We I will say that we are more appreciative day by day. Like we really do appreciate you guys, honestly. Especially taking the time for two two recent graduates and like listening to us and just our take on like everything that's around us.
Yes.
Shout out to you, Kashawn. Obviously, sir. Thank
Thank you.
you.
Thank you.
Shout out to one of my closest friends, Brandon B. Rimby. We'll have him on the show one day. Uh, he has a great story. I think we want to kind of get out there.
Hmm.
And that's it, man. Shout out to the folks. That's about it.
Yes. Yes. Once again, shout out to our support systems, our fans, our families. Thank you so much. Thank you for all you guys, all you do. None of this is possible without you guys. Um, just we're just so blessed for everything we have, and we're so grateful for everything. Thank you, Dre, for making this job easier. Um, Shout out to the KRSN radio show hosted by my good friend Braxton Smith. Shout out to the Lost Generation show hosted by my good friend Javon Connor. Um, Shout out to the Choir Boy clothing line, ran by my good friend Stephen Horton. Shout out to the D'Anthony Evans YouTube channel. Shout out to the Tatiana Jasmine YouTube channel. Shout out to the Nerdy in Many Ways YouTube channel. And I just want to say this, Dre, and say this to the people that are listening. Listen, I don't want to make it seem like we know everything because we don't. We're in our early 20s. We don't know everything. But
At
I'm
all.
only I'm only giving you guys my perspective and what I've seen and what I know. Now you can take that at face value, but I'm just giving you my perspective on things. Now we might not agree. That's fine. We don't have to agree on everything, but I'm just giving you guys my perspective. Dre's giving you his perspective on what we know and how we feel we can all be better individuals.
Also, guys, I just want to add on, like, with that being said, if you feel like you don't agree with something, hey, DM us, tell us that you don't agree with it. Like, if like, we're okay with being wrong. That's something that like we're okay with.
Yes.
We want to have discussions with everyone here. So please tell us, like, if you feel like something's not like, you didn't touch up too well, or you guys didn't like you guys didn't go in depth as we wanted. Like, let us know. Like, we want to know, what do you guys like to hear about?
Yes, we really appreciate that. Absolutely, Dre. Once again, we love you guys. Thank you guys for the support.
Thank you.
Yes, and we'll be back again next week, guys, with some more content, some more videos, and also be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel, the Sorry to Bother You Show. Also, be sure to check us out on the Patreon channel. We offer more exclusive content, game film breakdown, game analysis, and more topics such as this. We have a lot of videos on there, so go ahead and support any way you can on Patreon if you want to. But guys, we love you. Continue to stay safe, be vigilant, make smart decisions. And until next time, guys, peace.